Welcome to the InforMaven AI Update, a podcast for higher education administrators to discuss the practical use of AI and intelligent agents. I'm JD Mosley-Matchett, the founder and CEO of InforMaven, a company that helps you work smarter by harnessing the power of intelligent agents. And this month, our guest is Dr. Bryan Alexander, a senior scholar at Georgetown University, an author, and the creator of the Future Trends Forum video program. How does AI intersect with the many other challenges facing higher ed? Okay, your very recently published 2026 book, Peak Higher Ed, focuses on declining enrollment, political scrutiny, and the erosion of public confidence in higher education. But the subtitle, How to Survive the Looming Academic Crisis, indicates there's light at the end of this era, but only if institutions reinvent themselves. So, as a futurist, how do you think AI intersects with all of the other challenges being faced by higher education?
It's a great question, and I'll try and keep this as concise as possible. One of the things we have to think about is public perception of higher education and public perception of AI. This is distinct from the realities of both. So, for example, the public perceives higher education as being supremely expensive because they look accurately at our published tuition and fees figures. We just saw last year, for the first time, 2 Boston area institutions now cost more than $100,000 a year to attend. Now, that's the sticker price. What actually is paid by most students is substantially less than that. In fact, we can roughly say that the typical price paid by median student is roughly 45% of that. And so the richest families really subvent and support everybody else. But that's invisible. I mean, nobody notices that outside of higher ed. And in higher ed, not many people really fully grasp that. So the perception is there. And the same is true of AI. We may point to AI's ability to do certain things, but the perception that people have of AI will matter. I mention this because this could drive us in a couple of different directions. It's possible that people will become increasingly nervous about AI. Already, if you look at polls, a majority of people say that they think AI will be bad for jobs. They're frightened about what AI might do in certain ways. They're afraid of AI addiction. They're afraid of AI being used for harms in different ways. And we can debate about how real these may be and which of these is the most salient, but the perception is there. And that could worsen. It could worsen for political reasons. If right now in the United States, we see the Republican Party, most of it being very pro-AI, so we could see the Democratic Party turn against that and become more anti-AI. We could also see if there is a spectacular problem that people see as caused by AI. So if we see a plane crash, or worse, a celebrity death, or some kind of economic collapse, and people believe that AI caused it, again, this is a question of perception, then that might take AI down a bit. In contrast, academia might look better. Academia might look more trustworthy. We might look more sturdy, more knowledgeable, more imminent, more human. I saw on Instagram a few videos where little children were using the word AI as a synonym for BS. So, don't listen to Tommy. Everything he says is AI. I don't know if that's going to catch on. But just to think about, if we go in that direction where we're very skeptical of AI, then higher ed might look better and people might turn to us. So our public opinion might grow as a result. So that's, I can say more about this, but that's one option. The other is to reverse these. If people like AI in different ways, some people might celebrate it. Some might find it just simply be a net positive to their life. One of my favorite initially depressing uses of AI I saw in 2023 was a CNN article about real estate agents using AI to generate copy for houses on sale. And at first I thought part of my soul died as I read that. But then I thought, no, actually that made sense. Nobody goes into real estate because you want to write beautiful prose. It's a technical field, and it's also challenging. to do, to craft just the right thing. So maybe this is a good. This isn't the world-shaking use, but maybe this is one of those small benefits that people view as having meaning. And it may be that people like having conversations with AI for various emotional reasons, everything from romance to therapy to loneliness, and they find it to be good enough for them. And especially, it's always available, it's more friendly, it's cheaper, and all kinds of benefits. In contrast, they might come to see academia in an inferior way. We might look too expensive. We might look out of touch and obsolete. We might be slow to respond. So here's an administrative story I heard. The chief information officer for a New England school told me that he had on their website a web page which was click here to start applying for the school. And he said to me, okay, well, what 2 days of the year do you think that page got the most hits? And I thought about it and I thought about it. My guess was really bad. I said it would be early fall. And my friend
Oh,
said,
it's too late by then.
yes, yes. And he said, this is completely wrong. The two dates were the day after Thanksgiving and the day after Christmas. Because
Wow, that is,
you've
ooh,
got family gatherings, people
yeah.
have time, and you get people saying, well, look at our friend JD, she went to college and she did really well, why don't you do this? But then my friend said, as an institution they weren't able to respond because that was a holiday. So the person would say, I'm interested in attending your school, and they get back at, sorry, we're out of office. So they had to spin things around to retool things to get that response back. um, my our guesses about high school is based on being inside education, right? So you have so if you're anybody, if you're a teenager, if you're an adult, and you get that out of office, that lack of response, you might think higher education, they're sluggish. But my AI responds right away. 3 in the morning, Christmas morning, it does. So it might be that in this scenario, the AI booms and higher ed declines as a result. Um, there's another option, which I think gives me a little bit more hope, but also matches my nerdy brain a bit more, which is I think AI's potential is to be strange. It is an alien technology in a lot of ways, in that it is different. It doesn't think like humans do. I mean, it literally doesn't think, but its processes come out strangely. The When the famous AI match between a computer and a Go master, the game of Go, and the Go masters were defeated, and they all said that the moves the computer made were weird. Like they'd never experienced anything like that. And if you look at AI art, there's a lot of strange stuff that comes out. If you look at AI designs for things like clothing or interior design or cars, sometimes they're unusual. And it may be that we get the world becoming more and more strange. So there's already a Reddit where you can follow people who have detailed romances with AI, and they talk about how they find that to be a better experience than in-person romance. So if we have more of that, we have AI being used for advertising and for politics. In short, if AI makes the world stranger and stranger, people might turn to academics for help in figuring it out. So if I want to understand how it is that my self-driving car can get hacked by someone putting a sticker on a stop sign, that's a known hack, by the way. Do you? Who can help me? I mean, who do I turn to? Do I turn to Congress? No, that's a bad idea. Hollywood? Well, Hollywood will give a few ideas, but they're hit or miss. But academics, they can help you think about this critically. You can talk to a philosopher about the ethics of these. You can talk to an economist about what it means for the labor market. You can talk to a religious scholar about what this means, again, in terms of meaning. You can talk to a computer scientist about how the stuff actually works, and so on. So it might be the world becomes stranger and academics become stranger as well, but we help people respond. So that's another option. There's one more. I'm very keenly interested in the impact or the intersection between climate change and higher education. That was the subject of my previous book called Universities on Fire. And Peak Higher Ed has a chapter on this. And one of the things that I'm fascinated by is looking at the intersection between climate change and AI. So, on the one hand, we have the promise of AI that it will help us process huge amounts of data that planetary science generates, that will help us create new means and new ways of approaching climate change and grappling with it in terms of mitigation and adaptation. But then there's the flip side that the enormous computational demands of AI, especially for electricity, may worsen the climate crisis, where we may end up, burning more fossil fuels in order to fuel these AIs that help us solve the problem of fossil fuels. I think that intersection is one that, again, academics are supremely placed to help people think through, to try and puzzle out the complicated math and statistics of this, which is largely a data problem, to think about the ethics of this, to bring up all kinds of ideas, everything from, say, degrowth economics to small is beautiful to thinking about the idea of progress. And again, I think that intersection is one where if we do things right, if we play our cards right, if we reinvent ourselves well, then colleges and universities can really play a role.
Please visit InforMaven AI to hear the entire interview.